Farm4Profit podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm4Profit podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm4Profit podcast.
We have got to have the best job on this planet.
Do we?
Or can we even call this a job?
No, this isn't a job.
This is not a job?
Never work a day in your life. That's what you're supposed to do, right?
That's right. Especially when you get to drink wine.
Yeah.
And we got asked before we started, are we wine drinkers? Have we drank enough? Can you say you're a wine drinker?
I think we know a lot of stuff about wine. I mean, we know about the hole in the bottom. We got good wine openers. We know different makes, models. Yeah, I mean, I think we're wine guys.
We also got asked how many of these a day that we do.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't
like, that be cool?
We'd be slurring our words.
We should do multiple of these in a row sometime. I think that would be a lot of fun. Well, let's get right into our guest. We have Brett Munselle here. He is the owner and general manager of Munselle. I'm probably saying it wrong again. Vineyards.
You're right.
Another friend from Sonoma County. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Brett is also a pilot farmer, not a pilot, a pilot farmer for John Deere's Smart Apply.
Oh, yeah.
Which when we were bantering back and forth, I made the mistake thinking maybe he was a pilot. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I love pilots, but I'm not a pilot either. So we can both not be pilots together.
And he is the board chair. So if we want to renew this contract, we have got to do a good job.
Oh, boy.
No pressure here, guys.
MunsellVineyards.com. MunsellVineyards.com. Done.
Oh, Brett, yes. Thank you so much for joining. Corey, do you want to open it up?
Yeah, I feel like this is an event. Or would anyone else like to try the bike pump wine opener?
Nope. I think you.
Let's see it.
Dave wants to try it. Dave wants to try it. All right.
Oh.
So, Brett, if you listen to the last one, we just got this off the TikTok shop, and it puts a needle down through the cork, and it forces air.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to put it in further than that,
There
Dave.
you do.
Yeah, you got it all the way in, full stroke there.
Do you hold the bottom?
You got to allow it to come up. Oh boy, that doesn't sound good. You got to let it come up.
Oh, here it comes. Wait for it.
Oh yeah.
Wait for it.
Oh, this is like an event. Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
He
There you
just
go.
rolled his
Look at
eyes. I don't think we're getting hired back. I really don't
You guys
think.
are pretty high tech here.
I think I got a purple shirt on. We got a little.
All right, Brett, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been doing in the wine industry.
Well, I'm a fifth generation grape grower here in Alexander Valley of Sonoma County. My family's been farming here and wine grapes since the 1870s. We currently farm our own ground. We lease ground. We do a little bit of vineyard management. And as you can see, we make a small amount of wine.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't know if we've talked to somebody who's had a farm back to the 1870s. Have we? How far back does yours go, Corey?
Well, I mean, I think I talked about this on a recent show. It goes back into the mid 1800s, but it stayed in the family since 1901.
Yeah.
Before that, it was back and forth between gambling and whatever the heck they were doing. It seemed like they just traded it every year.
So right now, Brett, it's you and your parents? You and your wife and your parents?
My wife and I and my parents are partners in our business right now. It's all my mom's side of the family. So both of her parents were born and raised in Alexander Valley. My mom's lived on the same property her entire life. And now we just live right across the street, actually, with my girls. I have 4 girls also.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah. You have to be tough to have 4 daughters.
Got to be tough.
Yeah, it's tough with 2.
Yeah, we have 4 between the two of us.
We just
and
share.
Dave's got, he balances out 2 boys.
All girls.
Yeah.
We're all girls. Dave has 2 boys.
I got 2
Yep.
boys.
Yeah.
So I have 2 younger brothers, and they each have 2 girls. So my parents
man.
had 3 boys, and then now they have 8 granddaughters.
Oh, wow.
Holy
Yeah.
That's the world balancing out right there.
Yeah, it totally is.
That's awesome.
It's like Dan's team, TikTok famous, just in your own family right there.
Yeah.
So, Brett, you sent us, I was just looking at it, a 2018 Wasson Ranch
Yep.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yep. So that's
I mean,
our current release Cabernet. The Wasson Ranch is my mom's family. It's my mom's maiden name. So that's our home ranch. It's where my parents live, our shop, our office. My house is right across the street from there. Being a small winery, we don't have to release on a specific schedule. And we're also making a Cabernet that's almost 100% Cabernet. So it takes a little bit longer to develop, to age. Where a typical Cabernet in the market might be 3 to 4 years old, ours is an 18, so 5 to 6 years old before release.
Wow.
So it's a beautiful bottle, a beautiful label, very elegant. It has MV, and then you have dates going all the way around. What is significant about each of these dates?
So 1876 is when my first great-great-grandfathers moved into the Alexander Valley. 1889 is when they opened up their winery. 1893 is where the other side of my family opened up their first winery. And then 1972 is when my grandparents went back to 100% wine grape farming. So for my whole life, it's been wine grapes. So in that course of time, we've had wine grapes, wineries, hops, prunes, dairy, a few miscellaneous tree crops mixed in there. Back to prunes exclusively in like the 50s and 60s. And then by 1972, it was 100% wine grapes. So we just want to tell a little bit of our family story and share that it's got a lot of history versus a winery that just hops in and says that we have history and this is it. We wanted to show that in our label.
I like it.
In 2006, was that when you?
That's when we started making wine under our Munselle Vineyards label.
Oh, okay.
So our
That's
joke
cool.
is, my wife and I got married in 2005. At the time, we were farming. My brothers and I were making wine in my grandparents' cellar. My wife said, why don't we start making wine? And I'm like, we make it for fun. We have it in the cellar. She's like, why don't we make it commercially? And the joke is, went to bed that night, and the next morning we had a label, we had a permit, and then we had to start making wine.
We had a label. We had a
Wow.
permit.
Yeah, I gave every excuse I could think of for why we didn't want to do it. But she was like persistent, got everything together. She designed the label. She put the package together.
She's a go-getter.
Yeah. And then it was my job to make the wine and get it in the bottle.
Got your name on the cork, got the MV on the cork. Now you need to emboss the cork so then it can become a rubber stamp.
It almost is a rubber stamp.
I saw you stamping it there. Yeah.
He's watching everything we do, and he's just shaking his head.
The old MV embossment.
All right. So what did you taste?
I just tasted it. It is fantastic, which obviously you know that we're not very good wine people. We don't know the right words, but it is smooth. It is exactly what I want in a wine.
So it is smooth. It's a drier. To me, it feels like a drier wine. It's
Me too.
drier on my tongue.
Yeah. So it's definitely dry. There's no residual sugar in this wine. I think you described it perfectly. Do you like it or do you not like it?
I love it.
This wine has got a great nose. Smells really good. It's something you can enjoy just smelling before you even try to taste it.
I did do that.
But it should be relatively smooth. It's a 6-year-old wine at this point. So it's had time to age, and aging really mellows it out. Right? Mellows the tannins, which give you that feeling of being dry in the mouth.
I feel like I should have a nice medium rare steak in front of me
Yep.
at a nice restaurant.
Charcuterie board there.
That'd be good. That'd
That
probably
would
be
be
good
perfect.
too. Yeah. Instead of the popcorn
ever
that Tanner has out in the.
Have you ever had steak on a charcuterie board?
No.
Why aren't we doing that?
You'd have to rename it, I guess.
Have you
Why
seen
not?
those things?
They put salami, you put crackers and cheese. Why not grill up a steak, let it cool, and just dice it up?
I don't know what it's called, but have you seen those like big stones they take out of an oven? They get them like 1300 degrees and they set it on, and you have little slices of raw steak and you can put it on there and cook it like on your table. Yeah, because the stone's so hot, and it's so thin. That's kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've not seen that.
It's awesome.
That has nothing to do with the wine that we're drinking, but
It would go good with it.
it would go.
It would go exceptionally good with it.
Yes.
I almost have a little bit of a cherry, a cherry pre-note. Like it's not in the aftertaste. I feel like it's when it's first coming into my mouth. But you said this is nearly 100% Cabernet?
Yeah, this one actually is 100% Cabernet. So
And how many
typically
different
Cabernets-
wines do you?
Typically, Cabernets are blended with a Merlot to try to mellow down those tannins to make them more approachable earlier, i.e. a 3-year-old release date.
Right.
If you're not putting in some kind of Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec, then it takes a little bit longer for it to mellow out and be like really enjoyable wine.
Do some people not like it mellow? Do they like it to be tart, I guess would be maybe the opposite?
I think as you get more like a refined wine drinkers, people that have drank and tried a lot, the bigger the wine, the more powerful the wine, the more it is memorable. But your typical wine consumer in America, they want a wine that they can approach and enjoy right away. Buy the bottle, have the bottle that night.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
I wanted it approachable. It's probably, we compared a lot to bourbon because that's, what we are. It's probably, that would be like a higher proof or a hotter bourbon. You know it's going to burn, but you're never going to forget it versus something that's a little smoother.
How many different wines do you guys make?
So we started with Cab and Chardonnay in 2006. 2008, we started making a Zinfandel. 2012, we made our first Sauvignon Blanc. Now we have a Rosé, and occasionally we'll make a Petit Verdot. And we actually just made, in 2022, we made our 150th anniversary wine. So we made a wine in 22 that we can release in 26 for our 150th anniversary.
That's a lot of forethought.
That is
It's preparation. We were getting ready.
We don't
5 years from now, guys, we're gonna plant.
Hopefully, we're still in business, so we can celebrate 150.
Well, let's talk more about you being a pilot farmer.
Farmer.
Yeah.
So
what is that?
So currently, the Sonoma County Wine Grape Commission is working with John Deere and testing out some new technologies, new equipment. The one that we're working with is called Smart Apply. So it's a LiDAR operated addition to our current sprayers that lets us reduce the amount of spray we're actually putting out in the field. So it's sensing green tissue and turning the nozzles on our sprayers on and off. So there's a lot of technology similar to that in agriculture, but we haven't really had one that has worked effectively for wine grapes for mildew. So this is one that I think John Deere purchased the technology and is developing the technology. And now we are getting to test it out for them. I think there's 7 pilot farmers in Sonoma County right now. They're using the Smart Apply.
Has it been going well?
Yeah, it actually is fairly incredible. We reduced in our first sprays. Vines start off in March growing, and they'll grow through the season and go from, just fresh buds to 4-foot canes. So when they're really small, you don't need much material out there. We're finding savings anywhere like 60 to 70% of the chemicals that we're using.
Wow.
And by the end of the season, you see that savings go down to probably 10 to 20%. But through the course of our first year, we estimated about 30% savings on chemical usage. So besides being nice for the pocketbook, it's also great for the environment. Our community of Sonoma County likes to see that reduction of chemical use. So far it's been very interesting. There's still, it's technology, right? It's got its little quirks, but we're figuring those out.
Do you do anything with autonomy? I saw Rex, the CTO, had a TikTok out yesterday, or maybe I saw it yesterday, of his jaws dropped and he pans over to watch a tractor coming through. It looked like a vineyard. I didn't watch maybe as closely as I should.
So I think there's a lot of work being done in that, but for myself, we haven't done anything in that world yet. Our vineyards are fairly small, so I wouldn't say we're a large grower in Sonoma County, but we're larger than average, and we're farming about 800 acres. So I believe the average vineyard in Sonoma County is probably 20 to 25 acres. Doesn't make it very advantageous for a small grower to be looking at equipment like that. It's a little bit
Yeah.
too expensive for the size of their property.
An LATO, larger than average.
Larger than average time operator.
Time operator.
So is this a wine that we could find in the Midwest? Is it something we'd have to order?
You have to order it. So we actually only make about 750 to 1,000 cases of wine a year. That Cabernet is usually around 200 cases a year. So our wines are all direct to consumer. We have a pretty active wine club, and that's where we sell probably 60 to 70% of our wines. And then we'll do private tastings. So it seems to me that people really, they want to be in touch with the farmer these days. You know, that whole farm to table, food to fork movement. As crazy as I thought it was 15 years ago, people really do want to know the grower now. 15 years ago, it was all about the winemaker. And today it's like people want to get out in the field. So most of our tastings, I do them off the back of my pickup, off my tailgate. And usually I'll do it where we grow this Cabernet.
Beautiful. So it's farm to fork. What is wine to
Farm to
glass?
foot. Don't you squish grapes with your feet to make wine?
Hopefully
probably
not
don't.
too often. I think every kid tries it once.
That was quick. You got to give me credit for that.
That's okay.
Farm to fork, farm to foot.
Did you see? So he said tailgate. Have you seen that new tailgate? That the whole thing that pulls out and has like you could have a case
yeah,
of
you can have a
wine,
case of
and
wine
a
in
bottle
there,
of bourbon in it. It's like
I did
perfect
I have not
tailgate.
seen it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You might need to add that.
yeah, definitely.
So 750 to 1,000 cases of wine to me doesn't sound like a lot. How many
No.
cases does a vineyard have to sell to make it a viable family operation?
Well, I feel like ours, we've got several pieces to our business, correct? We've got our vineyard management, our own vineyards, and our wines. So our wine business, I think you'd have to be 2,500 to 3,000 cases of wine to make it a real viable entity where you'd be living off of that. But for us, it's a great marketing tool. It's a great piece of being active in our community. It gets our name out there, so it also helps when I'm negotiating contracts with wineries to be like to show a bottle. This is what we do with it. This is what you can do with our grapes. But we'll produce around 5,000 tons of grapes a year. We make wine out of maybe 10 to 12 tons a year.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
It's a tiny piece. What our business really is selling wine grapes to larger wineries in our area, being the supply for their own wines.
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I do think it's a great piece to our business. And I love the fact that it started and it's rolling. And if my kids want to get involved with our business, I mean, we spend a lot of time thinking about how to pass that on to the next generation. I've got 4 girls. They could all do what I do now as a wine grape farmer in Sonoma County. But having wines, all of a sudden you've got sales, you've got marketing, you've got winemaking. So there's a lot more pieces to our business. I mean, I'm sure just like what you guys are doing, right? A little bit of everything and not just fixated on one. We also live in an area that's very close to San Jose and like that tech world. So we get a lot of residential competition for our properties from people that want to have that estate vineyard with a big house on it. So in order to compete in that world as well, we farm for them. So someone comes up, they buy a 20-acre property. They're not going to farm it themselves. So we play in that vineyard management world as well.
That's just kind of like leasing or custom farming or anything we do back here. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Assuming it's very similar
and diversification.
and good
That's
for
what
cash
we are
flow,
doing. Yep.
right?
It's a small
Management
world.
for
Well, I
us-
wish we're. Go
I was
ahead.
going to say management for us is like a monthly invoicing type of business. Our own vineyards, that's annual, and wines, you know, sometimes those are 5 or 6 years out before you can start receiving income from them.
Well, I wish we were coming out to Tulare for the Farm World Ag Expo out there again. We will be at National Farm Machinery Show instead this year. Maybe next year we can convince John Deere to bring us out there and we can
I want to
see
come
your
out when
place.
it's blooming.
Oh, that'd be
Not
cool.
even during a farm show. We just need to
Yeah.
talk to like the board chair to get on board with having us come out.
or harvest.
We
Would be
you want to come out during harvest.
That would
That's
be
the
cool.
absolute best.
Yep.
It's all hands on deck, and everybody is out and busy. No paperwork, no permitting, no licenses, just work. It's great.
Stomp some grapes.
We could go grape to foot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure we could make that happen.
So when I think of wine, I think of stories. What's your craziest story that you got to tell us about growing wine throughout the years? Like, what's the wild one that really nobody knows behind the scenes?
Oh, right. I mean, it's farming, right? So every year is a different year.
Yeah.
The making wine part of the side, I'd say that's probably why I'm a farmer and not a winemaker. I much prefer the crazy of being out in the field than dealing with the issues inside the winery. But a crazy story from for us. I mean, really, the last 7 or 8 years, not crazy fun, but it's been all these fires that we've had in California. We've had 3 that have been all around our properties, our homes, our vineyards in the last 7 or 8 years. So those are crazy, and those always, of course, come during harvest time. So you're trying to get your grapes off the vine, and all of a sudden it's like a big pause. In 2019, we went 13 days with no electricity, which means no water, no services, evacuated the whole area. And that was during our harvest. So that was actually the craziest. And trying to figure out how to make that happen, get your grapes picked when wineries don't have electricity, that was definitely a challenge.
Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. Well, this has been a pleasure. They're always too short, which is why we hope we get to come back out there. So, Brett, have your people talk to Corey's people?
We can do that.
And Tanner is Corey's people, just in case you're wondering.
and hopefully we get to come back out there. So plug the winery page again. So if someone wants to order the wine and drink right along with us, how they can do that?
So you can find us at munsellevineyards.com. You can order wines through that. It'll send pretty much an email directly to our office. You can also find us at sonomawinegrape.org. So that's the Sonoma County wine grape growers. And there you're exposed to hundreds of wineries. We'd love to have you out, and harvest would be the time to make it happen.
Yeah, and if our listeners want a tailgate tour of yours, they can go and reach out.
Look me up.
That's cool. Well, Brett, we appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's good to talk with you guys.